the current war is a hybrid war, and it's not only about physical attacks, but a lot of about infrastructures, information technologies, and this cybersecurity context. How is it to live in war zone? I will try to uncover some details of our everyday life in Ukraine. So as you can see, now I am without electricity, and like I have my power station, which helps me to survive, to have this talk, by the way, and which supports our everyday life without electricity, and by the way, without water, and many other useful and simple things. It could be of interest to any like human in Europe, in the free world, because unfortunately everyone should be prepared and should expect different scenarios of the situation.
Welcome to talk.cybercni.fr.
Bienvenue. Welcome to the 45th edition of Talk Cyber CNI. It's quite a while since we had the last edition, and we're back with a huge highlight today. So we have a talk that could not be more current, as it is unluckily, because there's even more war in closer zones, and so this is really bad. And therefore, it's important to support the people and to learn a bit, in particular, how information technology and operational technology, so how computers play a role in the daily life of the people and also in defending the country and so on. So today we have the talk Living in a War Zone, how cybersecurity changes in times of war, at the example of Ukraine. And our guest is Taras Panchenko. I'm super happy that you took the time to do it, even in such difficult conditions. So, as always, we have the second screen. The second screen is the Slido, and so as today it's the 45th edition, the code is Talk45. So those of you who participated multiple times know it already. And yeah, so we have this. So please connect, because as you know, it's most interesting if you also look at which are the questions. Do you like the questions? Do you have additional questions? And so therefore, we're looking forward to your input. The format is, as always, so we have or as often, we have an intro talk, and then afterwards we have a Q&A, and overall we do around 90 minutes. Okay, so that said, let me introduce our speaker. So our speaker is Taras Panchenko. He is an Ukrainian IT leader, academic, and cybersecurity community builder who operates at the intersection of advanced technology, higher education, and real-world crisis resilience. He is also the co-founder and CTO of Infosoft Global Limited. He leads international IT projects and delivers high-impact software solutions tailored to client needs. He manages cross-functional teams, developing scalable IT products across data science, business intelligence, and system integration and mobile development. At the same time, he plays a key academic leadership role as head of department and head of Employers Council at the Faculty of Computer Science and Cybernetics at Taras Panchenko National University of Kyiv. In this role, he builds strategic partnerships with IT companies, launches joint innovation projects, and strengthens the bridge between academia and industry. And he's also very active with the ACM. This is how we got into contact, and so therefore it's also very good. Okay, so the talk today, what will it be about? You've already seen it a bit in the trailer, and so you've seen what to expect. Taras was already telling you, and so therefore, without further ado, I would hand over to you, Taras, and warm welcome to you. We're looking forward to your discourse. Okay, so just wait a second. So we'll be back in a small second. So the
during ACM activities in Germany, and I'm really proud to like connected with you that time and had many things in common, many activities in common. So yeah, that's cool. I would like to share my short presentation, and we'll start. Mhm. You should see my first slide, like life and cyber in brackets security in a war zone, right? Yes, super. Um, okay, thank you for like presenting me. I put some points also here. So I'm a honored educator of Ukraine, a head of the department at the Faculty of Computer Science and Cybernetics. I am the program director of the certificate program Fundamentals of Cybersecurity for Small Organizations. And also one of my like big projects now in university is development of the DG platform, a kind of umbrella big platform for the national educational platform to join resources of different universities. And by the way, this project DigiUni was coined right after the start of the big war, because we understood that Ukrainian education at all could be at high risk. And there was at the very beginning there was a huge like risk of losing many of collected like knowledge, skills, courses, curricula, and so on, because of like fast moving of Russian army. So by the way, this project was coined by like started after the start of big war, and now it is in like phase of fast development and implementation, by the way. But of course, the most my activities now are in cybersecurity field, because especially when war started, there was a lot of cybersecurity attacks, and we clearly understand that the population, the society requires good understanding of basic principles, by the way. So probably all of you know that due to a report from Microsoft from 2023, if I'm not mistaken, so they calculated that 99% of cyber attacks could be avoided if people just follow simple cyber hygiene rules, not strong cyber security like requirements and so on standards, but just simple cyber hygiene rule. You understand, just 1% is left for deep technical stuff. And also we know that the most insecure element in security field is a human, and it is the most challenging to secure this like social and human part of cybersecurity systems to make it more secure. Okay, to our topic. Unfortunately, from the very beginning of the war, we have a lot of ruined a lot of ruins, a lot of ruined buildings. Here you can see the Karazin Kharkiv National University, the oldest Ukrainian university, like with ancient buildings, with all this historical ancient heritage and so on. But the Kharkiv, I will show later on the map, is located very near to the border with Russia, and this way a lot of destroyment, like a lot of missiles were put there, and unfortunately we have these huge ruins. Here is another university, Sumy State University, also located very near from the border with Russia, and unfortunately they fully destroyed one of the buildings. If I'm not mistaken, it's a like sport complex, very new complex, renewed complex. It was renewed right before the war, before 2022. Of course, the war were started much earlier in 2014, but it was not in such an active phase. And but again, after 2022. Why I highlight this? Because it's universities where we teach students just like to educate our future of Ukraine, and Russians destroys the centers of education. So not military objects, not I don't know, big infrastructure or principal objects, but educational centers. Um, By the way, here is where I am living. I live near this like center, Retroville, in Kyiv. And on the right, on the left, you can see how it was before 2022. And on the right picture, you see how it looks after one of attack. And again, it's Kyiv, like the capital of Ukraine, the center of the Ukraine. And even Russians like put missiles here. It's in less than kilometer from from where I'm living. Less than kilometer, some couple of meters. Uh, Here you can see another example. It's also maybe well-known example where Kremenchuk is in Poltava Oblast. Let me say more or less center of the Ukraine, and here is a simple like trade center where people come and buy things, food and electronics and so on, so on, so on. Just simple trade center. And even during the day, not in the night when people try to sleep, in the day they just pushed a missile. I don't know, maybe they think that there was some military there, but there is just trade center. And after this, of course, a lot of people were died because it was middle of the day, and um, just people regularly go to their shopping, and like a lot of sellers were there inside the building, and it was totally ruined. You can see pieces on the right, and again, as it was the middle of the day, many people were killed. Very, very, very unfortunately. But what's about like computer technologies and security, cybersecurity? When from the first days we understand, like as a society, understand quickly the risks that we could it could happen that we will lose any kind of internet connection, because now, for example, in our country, it's like pretty normal to have optical fiber cable of internet in like every flat, every apartment. So before this, we had a kind of home nets, so just Ethernet, and if you lose I don't know, if you lose power in your outlet, so internet just disappears. But from the starting of the war, like we quickly understand that we should do something to stay connected. Mobile power is not like mobile stations or cellular stations are not very reliable because they again depends on electricity. And if something bad happens with connection or with electricity, we just lose mobile connection and also, as a consequence, internet connection in most cases. So this is the picture of a kind of mesh networks. From the starting of 2022, I mean after 24th of February, whereas big war was started. When we still had a connection to our messengers, to the internet, many people started to push that we need to install new kind of messengers which can transfer messages from phone to phone, not through mobile stations, but via Bluetooth or other technologies of nearby connections. So I hope it's more or less clear for our audience. What does it mean? So if even mobile stations will not continue to work, if we have enough this kind of messages installed on many phones, we can transfer message from point to point, as you see in these pictures. It could be called like mesh networks. It could be called in other ways, but there exists such a messengers which support this kind of technology, and we massively installed this kind of messengers at the start. Later, our mobile providers were adopted and found the possibility to put batteries, additional power stations to the cellular stations, to allow them be active for more time when we have a lot of electricity cutoffs. I will also mention it later. What's next? For example, this winter we had a very cold, like in all Europe, and I tried to find like I think I took the pictures, but I haven't found them. So that we had even minus 20, minus 25 degrees by Celsius. During the day, it could be like minus 15, and in the night, minus 20, minus 25. We even don't remember such a cold winter in like many of last years. So you can see here that by Celsius, it should be minus 8, but because of strong winds and additional humidity in the like air, it feels like minus 18 degrees. So it was really cold and uncomfortable conditions. But that's just the beginning of the problems, because in this cold weather, what did Russians do? Of course, attack infrastructure, like energy infrastructure, generating infrastructure, and transformative infrastructure, which like allows the power come into our apartments. And of course, they choose these cold conditions. They prefer this because of it is much harder to recover the facility after this kind of attack. Thankfully, thanks to like our armed forces and of course the huge help from European partners, we were able to destroy a lot of missiles before they got to the infrastructure, got to the target. But still, a lot of them finally targeted to power stations, and unfortunately, we have a lot of electricity cutoffs. And electricity cutoffs is just one of the consequence. Another consequence, when electricity, like we have a heating season, so when electricity or power offs, so no heating in apartments, and when it is on, it is a kind of push to the heating batteries, because machine which heats the water and pushes it to the apartments, like starts and give a first strong push, and this way a lot of batteries were destroyed, and even in my house we had a lot of problems. So you understand that when some battery starts to flood, so it floods very quickly. You can't even quickly, like as quickly, stop this, and it flows to your neighbors below, to the like up to the ground. So many flats were become to conditions where when it needs a huge repair, just to continue to live. Um, okay, here something about information technologies. So from the very beginning of 2022, we have this application and we use it heavily right now, and it's very important for us. A kind of map of alarms. So mostly it is important for us in the nights, because most attacks are done in night time. So what you can see here, it's a map of Ukraine. So it's Kharkiv. I hope you see my cursor. So Kharkiv and Sumy, two major universities I mentioned on the very beginning of the presentation. So you can see here is Russia this way, and this part is very near to the border with Russia. So this is why they attack many. They mostly attack like these cities. By the way, Kharkiv is a very big city, second by population, if I'm not mistaken, in Ukraine after Kyiv. And here you can see like these drones, Shaheds, maybe you heard about them, huge drones which are kind of kamikaze, so they fly and targeted to the to some facility, and it can bring up to 100 or even 100.5 kilograms of trotyl equivalent. So it means that it could destroy a lot, a very lot. Here we can see like how they are moving in pretty real time. So this part of Ukraine on the left picture is just not have been attacked up to this moment, but you can see later they moved further, and this way, like all Ukraine is red. Also, this sign means that strategic aviation like started to push missiles, and this way is MiG 31, which pushes ballistic missiles, and this way for if this sorry, these planes if push missile, we have up to 6 minutes to hide away, because these ballistic missiles are hyper sound fast, and up to 6 minutes to get to Kyiv, and pretty the same for even western part of Ukraine. This is like more connected to this kind of attacks, because after attacks we have, of course, a lot of electricity cutoffs, and this is another kind of application from our like energy provider, which shows us the expectation of electricity. So it means the for example, each hour and half a hour we can see there. And this way, for every particular address, we can see should we expect electricity on this or that time or no. So now in our area, this left graph is more or less like actual. And if you analyze, you can see that like half of light day from 8 to 18 or to 17, sorry, to 19, half of time you don't have electricity and you should do something to survive, and just half time you have this electricity. When attacks were more active, we had this kind of graph, and if you calculate during the day, you have just 1, 2, 3 hours with electricity, and from 3 a.m. till like 8 p.m. or not even to 9 p.m. you don't have electricity, just 3 hours. How you will make your food, how will you like teach students, how students will find possibility to prepare their lessons and to get the knowledge, it doesn't matter, because just no electricity, not enough power to for consumers to support and to like provide electricity for longer period. Of course, there were even worse periods because, for example, right after attacks, they show just this third type of graphic, which means no one can predict will you have electricity or no. Just all in gray. It means that no one knows if electricity will be at some particular piece of time or will not be available. But anyway, thanks God and all the like involved in repairment of these electrical and power facilities. Mostly now we have this more or less defined graph, so we understand that okay, from 8 to 10:30 we will not have electricity, and with high expectations that at 10:30 it will come back, and at least for 3 hours it will be like available to charge our devices, to do things. So I would like to jump to this picture and then come back. Do many of you know what this device is? As you see, it's named EcoFlow, and it's like a Xerox, like, yeah. So Xerox is just a brand, but we often call Xerox any like copy device which could make copies, or I don't know, Pampers means like it's just a brand, but we often use it to name like any kind of this helping um, for children. So EcoFlow, Blue Yeti, Anker, and other devices, which are a kind of power holders. They say they call it somehow power stations, but for me it's not about power station, because it's not producing the power, it just collects the power from the grid. And when like you haven't electricity, you can just connect your devices, and on the back there are simple like outlets as in your wall, and you can charge any other devices. So it has some capacity, I mean in watts per hours and dot hours, and it could provide like electricity with some power, so up to, for example, 1 kilowatt, for example. So as you see in trailer, and you can see maybe like now I have this kind of power station, because yes, now I have electricity, thankfully, and seems like no problem, or at least less problem. But anytime it could like disappear, and this way I need to light something from this station. And as I mentioned, also I have internet in fiber optic, because it does, as you probably know, it uses a kind of passive equipment, and doesn't require additional power on the way from the provider to like my point of connection. So it is very important, because if electricity is absent, you don't need to think how to power all the equipment on the way from the provider, like to your connection point, because you often have a lot of equipment on this path, on this way. Okay. It seems maybe like a simple field, like a simple field. Does anyone see anything? Not just a field, just these lines. Yeah, just these strange lines. Maybe you don't know, you think it's a Photoshop or something like this. No, it's fiber optic. I mentioned it previously. And but this is not for internet. It's from drones, and probably you heard that drones do a lot of work, a lot of job on the battlefield right now from both sides. It not just like see and control the field, but also kamikaze, also bearers of weapons, and so on, and it just kills people. So FPV, yes, first person view. So someone like directs the drone to the target, and it destroys the target. Of course, as drones are designed to be as radio controlled, so signals are go through the air, and this way a lot of efforts done to not allow signals to get to the drones, yes, to like confuse this radio channel, and not allow drones to get the target, to get them just like destroyed and lose of control. And what to do with this? Because of no like better solution, many drones were just connected with this fiber optic lines, and just become a kind of wired drones. So it still flight, it still bring a missile, a kind of okay, let it be missile or weapon. and but now it's connected to the operator with this fiber optic, and control it not via radio channel but through this wires, which means that it is now can like will not lose control if you have like interference or influence to the radio channels, because it doesn't use radio channels for the control. But as a consequence, on the fields you have a lot of this optic which is left after drone flight, and no one knows what to do with this, because like it's real ecology problem, because like animals just dies when they got into these fibers, because they don't understand what to do. These fibers, by the way, are very strong. It is not easy to cut them. So if some animal got to this web, let me say, it could just die. And the same with plants, so they can't like rise as always. And as I said, no one knows what to do with this big problem. And as you clearly understand, the situation is going just worse and worse every day, because new drones flights, and they left this kind of fiber optics more and more each day. Um, okay, this was something about our like everyday life, but what is about cybersecurity? So yes, we experience as Ukraine at whole experience a lot of cyber attacks, a lot of and it was calculated that the quantity of cyber attacks just raises doubled each year. So it means that we have a kind of exponential growth. As I like to say, do you know many processes with exponential growth? Many processes are limited, but now we have the growth of cyber security attacks growing exponentially, at least in Ukraine. Of course, our enemies targeted mostly in um, to the infrastructure, to the system, the most vulnerable as and the most like influential to people life. So probably you heard about dia. So maybe okay, maybe you know that in Estonia they have a lot of advancements for citizens services via internet through ID card. And the same we have in Ukraine. We have dia. I have not added this picture, but you can Google, or I will do it like in some minutes. Just to show this picture, it's an application for everyone, every Ukrainian who has just a passport, and that's enough. And you will be able, as Ukrainian with a passport, Ukrainian passport, you will be able to get pretty any state service through your mobile phone. So to get some document from the government, to I don't know, to anything you wish. So you have like birth a child, you need documents like you need documents. Okay, you will got it through dia. You have married. Again, now even in Ukraine, you can just marry. You can marry with like your spouse, yeah, using just dia. You don't need even to go to write all these things because having your passport as your identifier and you create your digital signature, which means is based, of course, on cryptographical protocols, yes, with high level of security. And you can sign all these documents, all your requests, all your like. If you, for example, if you want to open banking account, you just you can do it just online. So for the target bank, you say, okay, I will provide my documents via like this dia application, and you sign bank do the request to dia, you sign that, okay, you agree to provide your documents like passport, tax code, and so on. You agree to provide these documents to that bank, sign your agreement electronically, and uh, in minutes you have your banking account. So like all is electronical, no need to visit, and life in smartphone, let me say, but not like life means, which means like every day and like simple things, but even documents and such a things as opening a banking account. So this way, yes, Ukraine is very if I could say like electrified services. Many services could be done just in your smartphone. Many services could be processed, many requests could be processed, many information could be obtained just through smartphone. I mean official, yeah, official. And of course, this is why Russia put a lot of efforts to target a lot of efforts um, to destroy these DIA and connected services. Um, there are a lot of information about it in the internet. I probably will not comment it in detail, but it's not obvious. So some things could be really like destroyed because some pieces of information, because as I said, like, okay, we destroy the idea. Okay, what are your proofs? Um, here is like snippet of some information of dia, and if we check this snippet, so it's kind of mixed impression. Some informations looks like realistic, but some informations looks like real spam. So just some data which couldn't rely with any particular people. So like a kind of mistakes in birthdays, so birthday in the future, and so on, so on, so on. So like it's not very obvious if it was really correct, but it could be that some information like leaked from some other sources, but here it was said, okay, we destroyed this. Here is our proof. But it was really like a piece of some data somehow taken from, I don't know, badly um, badly secured bank, for example. Um, Here, I will try to click these links. I hope you still see my screen, and I will try to open this link. Super. Okay, and okay, the first is like CERT-UA, Computer Emergency Response Team of Ukraine, and it collects, analyzes, and informs about any known and recognized, catched, and analyzed situations about cyber incidents. I would like to check if they have English. Yes. So, responding to cyber incidents and many other information. Unfortunately, the specific materials are still in Ukrainian, and I'm pretty sure without this kind of translation. What I would like to say, unfortunately, you see that like news are not very new. This is why. This is because of at some point of time, if I'm not mistaken, in December of the last 2025, they decided not to publish anymore any this analysis because analysis was very like quality, very detailed, and it can uncover how we cope with these attacks from Russia and help them to improve their methods. I hope it is clear. And this is why, unfortunately, for analysis, for understanding the situation, they decided at government level not to uncover anymore any like these incidents, especially if it concerns to mobile operators, big postal operators, and this kind of big infrastructure players. So they decided to stop reporting, stop inform. So they still work, they do all this job, just they don't publish the results. Another example is a kind of more research. State Scientific and Research Institute for Cybersecurity Technologies and Information Protection. It's the same situation. So, unfortunately, news are not very new, but here you can catch the idea what did they do. So they analyze different found approaches like emergency and informs how to avoid all the potential problems which potentially can be. So in this way, of course, it was and still is a very useful resource, but only the situation that no new reports like available, and I described why. But at the same time, also I would like to highlight. Most probably here we will not be able to switch to English. I think no. But anyway, this is information that in 2024, on the basis of one of the universities in Ukraine, there was created a cyber range, but not just one more cyber range. Cyber range specifically designed for specialists of state of the government services. So it is really like quality and a good center with well known in the area people who create this center, And as far as I know, again, from some point, all this information become like unclosed. Yeah. Non-disclosed. Sorry, non-disclosed. So it is not publicly available. But as far as I know, it works very efficiently, and a lot of job were done at these centers. So of course now they have not 15 scenarios, but much more, and it's one of the very quality projects in Ukraine to enhance the cyber resilience. Also, I've seen somewhere that recently at another university there was created the same kind of team for reacting to cyber incidents to help government services, again because of the quantity of cyber attacks is very huge, and it's a lot of work to do, and not all this work could be done quickly. We all probably know that there is a huge lack of quality cybersecurity specialists to solve all the problems. And again, in Ukraine, under the high pressure of these attacks, of course, like specialists who are devoted to this can't do all the work in time. So this is why they try to extend the teams and allow some pieces of work, of analysis, of forensic and so on, to be done by other sub teams from universities, from research centers, and so on. So most probably I would like to stop here and go to discussions and answer your questions. I promised to show Dia. I will try to do this. Let me do this way. So Dia is not only an application, but also a website. And I'm really unsure if you can, maybe on the site, on the website, you can like get more services. So application is just a piece of the services. So I would like to check if we also have a kind of English version. No, but anyway, if you will be interested, you can like at least at Chrome in Chrome make a online translation, and you will see it all in, I don't know, in French, in German, in English. But here we can see that we have services for citizens and services for businesses. So if you are business entity in Ukraine, you also can get a lot of services, like not just like putting reports to some instances, but also to get some information from the instances online. There was much more services available, like by the way, if I'm not mistaken, before 2022, Ukraine was one of the most open open data country. So I mean, we had the most, if I'm not mistaken, like the most data sources open. So declarations of, for example, public persons, many registers, many, like if you would like, for example, to check, I don't know, if some entity really exists in not is a bankrupt You don't need to write a request, like written request to some state body to ask if they, and then wait for the answer. You just put your request on the web to this register and got the answer immediately. If this entity is really registered and not bankrupt. I will show you some example. So for example, uControl is one of Ukrainian services. And for example, we will try to seek for my company, Infosoft Global. Sorry. Let me check for my company. Okay. I hope I will find it. Yes. So Infosoft Global LLC, this is a tax number, and who is the director of the company. And by the way, we can click and see what it knows about this person. And for example, yes, now we see a kind of limited version. I mean that if you would like to have additional information, you should log in and pay for these additional services. But even in free version, you can see this is a real company. It is registered, no problems with it. It is registered as in register of um, juridical persons, in register of in state register. It has a tax number, the date of registration, starting capital, and so on, so on, so on. What are the main activities? So computer programming, consulting, and so on, so on, so on. And for more information, you just need to register. So this is again about that we have a lot of different sorry, we have a lot of different registers, and this is one more reason why Russia would like to attack, because there are a lot of resources of interest, and as a very digital country, let me say, Ukraine this way have as pros the simplicity to get to services and to access to, like, get the answer to any of your question, and also cons, because there is a high risk and high interest of our enemies to destroy this infrastructure. Okay, so Mark Oliver, would
It just switched.
should I stop sharing?
You can stop sharing, but it's also okay. You could also continue sharing, but yeah, do as you like. So my stream is really bad, as I see, but well, who knows how to explain this as I'm local. Okay, cool, wonderful talk. So it's super fascinating insights and shocking insights. Of course, luckily, most of the viewers will hopefully not be in such a situation. So thanks a lot for having shared all this. So super valuable already. Maybe the first question, could you sketch a bit the evolution of digitization of the daily life in Ukraine? Did it change with the war? Was it similar before already? So were people already largely using digital services? The public services were digitized, or Was there a strong change? And if there was a change, how was it adopted? Are people coping? What do older people do? Do all people have devices? So could you share a bit on that?
Okay, it could sound strange, but let me say there was no huge change. Let me explain. So, at the very beginning of the war, as I mentioned, a lot of registers were just closed of access because of to not allow like our enemies to steal the information, to get any kind of access, and to make the harder life for hackers to destroy, to get the access. Yes, this was a like negative consequence for Ukrainians because we also uh, had a very limited access, at least again at the very beginning of this big war in 2024. But I'm pretty sure it helped save a lot of resources and save information from our enemies. But step by step, especially in 2023 and more in 2024, more and more resources become available online again. So still we don't have all the registers with open data like open it up to now, but most of the information could be obtained like this or that way. Maybe a bit harder than before 2024, but it still could be. And again, on the example of DIA application and DIA portal, no, maybe not every day, but every week we have additional state services added to the DIA. So as a driver, for example, I have all my documents in smartphone. So car uh, car registration document, uh, my car license, driving license, um, insurance for my car. I have everything as a document in my smartphone, and I can, if someone like police stopped me and asks my documents, this is just fairly enough. I don't even need this hard copy of documents.
Mhm. And do you have a digital identity per citizen? And if so, how is it secured and what is it relying on?
Yes, super fascinating question. Yes, it's like um, root of many debates, but still I'm more for it. Uh, so technically, it's based. Okay, in Ukraine we have our own cyber security protection standards, which means it's not just a simple a kind of HTTPS or something like this. We have our own protocols and our standards, internal standards for digital signature. Uh, so now DIA itself doesn't hold any particular information. It is just intermediary between real registers and users who try to request or access some information. So it's just a smart intermediary. So it like connects or don't allow to connect the requester with the requested information. Um, so this way, the most information is not stored anywhere. Like you access, you get this data on the secure channel and got it on your device. That's all. It's not stored on intermediary. It's not stored somewhere. So the question is only to transfer safely and securely and to check access carefully at the moment of your request. And now the question is like if these standards are secure enough. I mean, for example, as 128-bit RSA was enough at some point of time, and now it's absolutely not enough. So it's only the matter of this kind of technical questions. If you if like majority of experts agree that this standard or protocol is secure and safe enough or not. And of course, as it's documented and you can see, you can check, you can read the specification and like review as a cybersecurity specialist. So it's in this way, in this means it's a kind of open source. So you can check and understand, okay, yes, I can trust it because it's a secure protocol.
Mm. But that means that the data storage is your device. And so what happens if the device gets lost or destroyed or stolen? Then your digital identity and everything is gone. Or how does that work?
Okay, absolutely agree. So it stores for some short period of time. Of course, if you lose your device, like you downloaded all the documents and right at that moment you lose your device, unfortunately, of course, we have a lot of like levels of access to the device, a face control, a fingerprint, a password, a PIN code. If any of this could be broken, and as with any other information in like, for example, I have all access to my banking accounts also in my phone. So I don't know what is better, to uncover my identity documents or to have like immediate access to all my banking accounts.
Mhm.
So yes, it's better not to lose the device. That's true, but again, um, time from time to time it clears, wipes the information of data. So I even checked by myself when I haven't logged into dia for a long time. It took much longer to get the information, to access to the server, and to refresh these copies. So it means that it doesn't hold it like permanently.
Mhm. Okay. Then, Gerhard, I give to you. You're still mute, I guess. You have to unmute.
Yeah, now I'm probably on air, hopefully.
Yes.
So, my name is Gerhard. I'm the vice chairperson of the German chapter of the ACM, and thanks for giving this talk. It was really amazing for me, and to get this real feeling for how that must be. It's not possible to understand that if you are not seeing this. So, thanks for the pictures and everything and all the stories. For me, the question is, when you see the education of normal people, do they need, for that kind of system that you are living in, do they need to have a lot knowledge about cybersecurity, or is it in the system baked in so that they can just use it, normal people can use it, and they don't have to worry so much about the cybersecurity stuff?
Uh, Let me say, from my point of view, from my opinion, it's better to have a basic understand and basic knowledge, at least. Why? Because many people still first don't trust just so okay, you have your identity, your documents in your smartphone, and it's safe and you can use it. But many people says, like, and what I will do, who else will have the access to this? If I will get these documents, if could it be stolen somehow from my device or somewhere in some else way? So still a lot of you see, like, as it said, like any advanced technology couldn't be easily um, like as magic or not as magic.
Mhm.
Like, so many people perceive this as a magic. So okay, wow, I have my passport in my phone. how it could happen. And from our experience, we do a lot of training in schools with pupils, with school children and school teachers.
Mhm.
And my understanding is that they really come out from these trainings with much better understanding what is going on around of them.
Mhm.
So there are a lot of problems, even in messengers. In messengers, we have I don't know if you use a kind of Telegram. So there is a very popular thread there. So please vote for my I don't know for my children to win them in some competition, and you just need to log in and vote for them. Please do it. And it looks like the very reliable message, but really they just steal your logins and passwords and then do bad things. um, this very basic understanding could first of cybersecurity could first prevent from this, let me say, simple but annoying hacking, and second, uh, better understand what is behind the hood, not in a very deep technical details, but just understand, okay, it sounds reasonable and should be trusted, but this one is something strange.
Mhm.
And third, it could raise this kind of trust to really good services. But people should be able to understand if it seems to be trusted or really like service which could be trusted. And it is not very easy for them to distinguish like.
Isn't there also the risk from within? So that in some organizations, some people get money from Russia to do things that are not so good for the whole system. Isn't that also a major challenge for the Ukraine to cope with that from the security point of view, the cybersecurity point of view?
Absolutely. One of the example, there was a big problem with our provider Kyivstar. It's like open information. Uh, so it was cracked, and I don't understand clearly how, but even it was down at infrastructure level, the whole mobile operator for
Mhm.
more than 1 week. So it was a very huge destroyment of all the infrastructure of mobile operator. And the reason was one person who was cracked like in this social way. So
Mhm.
just he shared its account, and then um, hackers do all the other stuff. So it was very like hard um, to reverse engineer attack and hard to recover attack. And
Mm.
if I'm not mistaken, near this attack, the government decided not to disclose like any further attacks.
Mhm.
But it was a huge problem because for about a week, no one could use this mobile operator. So it was just like totally broken. And again, the reason is just one person. So
So dangerous, yeah. So you really have to trust people in a certain way, but still you don't want to have a single point of failure from also the people point of view. So this is really hard from the security point of view, but because some people always need the whole access to systems, the physical system, the infrastructure level system. Yeah.
exactly, absolutely. And again, so you can you can build a multi-level security on technical from technical point of view, but still you need always train and check we even during our trainings we try to do a little checks. So we put some material and then say, okay, let's for example scan this QR code. But before this, we say so QR code could lead you to some fake resources and this kind of check. And also, um, it's good practice to have like checks for staff of companies to check if how they react to, for example, scam.
Hmm. Yeah. What I also heard is that you have a lot of international partners, of course, hopefully so. But isn't that also a security risk to share sensitive data with other organizations that are beyond your direct control as Ukraine? Isn't that a huge and not so easy to solve problem from the point of data security, whom to trust, and so on and so on?
Um, Let me say that as far as I know, for example, the same example with Kyivstar, our mobile operator, was like investigated with United States partners and so on, and it usually involves institutions and peoples who already has um, like good faith and good reputation, strong reputation, long-term reputation, and like previous history of development, previous history of positive relations. So it doesn't work this way that for any like cases we attract any partners and try just to share the information. No, it mostly shared just with proven by time partners. Of
Mhm.
course, it doesn't mean that it couldn't get some bad results. Of course, it doesn't mean, but at least it provides some assurance that we work only with checked partners.
Yeah. Thank you.
Very, very interesting. So I know that you're also doing a lot of teaching. You do hackathons. You are also a professor at university. So in that sense, but also in the larger sense, how did education change since the beginning of the war? Did the people focus differently? I mean, in particular in Europe, you hear about, okay, Ukraine, these are the drone experts, they master doing this fiber optics drone communication thing, and so on and so on. And so these are probably skills that were not so widely, in quotation marks, spread before the war. So could you share a bit how the educational sector changed to adapt to the new needs of this unfortunate time?
Yes, dramatically changed, very dramatically. So first, you remember the map of Ukraine. So the western part, which is near with Russia, they should they were like pushed to move mostly online. No possibility to meet offline. So there are some just very particular examples where professors meet with students in laboratories moved behind the ground just because of its kind of chemistry, biology, and it's very hard to learn just online. But it's just very particular counter examples. Mostly they pushed to move online and like no other option. In central and eastern part of Ukraine, it's there is much more possibilities to proceed with offline education, but the most challenge is to have this like uh, basement or shelters like to hide when air alarm, because air alarms also are during the day, and we should hide and save our students for this time. And pretty saying it's hard, because if we have a huge building with students offline, so anyway, like this underground shelter is um, can't hold all the students at one time. So this is why we moved to shifts in our education. I mean, like morning classes, like after dinner, after afternoon classes, and so on, and a kind of divide. So part of education process is still online. For example, lectures are mostly online, because lectures are mostly for huge audiences, and it's just not very safe to call all the students at one place and hold them. Um, this is one thing. The second, priorities, or like yes, priorities in education. So in Ukraine we have now many new programs of aircrafts, drones development, and so on. This robotics, by the way. So these are new programs. um, Universities try to open them carefully in that way, that first to obtain at least some experience, and not just like say, okay, we will train drone developers. No, first we should obtain our experience to be sure that we can give good information to students, and we can really produce good specialists at the end of the study. And second part of this question is, unfortunately, we have examples when some universities said, okay, we opened the laboratory of drones, and the second day Shahed like targeted this university. So of course our enemies uh, also like listen carefully what is going on there here, and like don't miss the possibility to destroy and to injure this kind of initiatives. So again, even if some breakthrough or good program or good achievement, it not always like we don't always speak about it loudly. And of course, the second, like let me say, the last but not the least challenge is psychological mentality aspects of students, because many students, not only students, even teachers and professors have some problems now with mental health, because of like constant attacks, constant pressure, constant this like not very usual condition of life, let me say. And we have a lot of psychological support services in universities, outside of universities, like invited specialists. But unfortunately, even it is not surprise, I think, that like students now are harder to reach some results, to get some results, just because of this constant um, situation and not very well mental and psychological state.
Mhm. And did the participation change? So are they more attentive, less attentive? Than there are many boys that are at the war. So is there also a link? Because if I understood correctly from our many exchanges that we had in the meantime, the society somehow still manages, even though the situation is ultra difficult, to try to keep a little bit normal. And so, is it compatible? The people are sent to war, and at the same time, there's still education. Are there only girls going to universities at the moment virtually, or is the attendance stronger? Are people more eager to do that? And again, we don't know how it was before. So maybe in Ukraine it was already very strong that people went to university. So maybe you can share a bit about the moral and the motivation of the people. Is it something driving them, helping them to keep mentally a bit more sane, or yeah?
Uh, it's very different. So we have very different cases, and maybe it's hard to have just to say this is one trend. No, very different situation. But all you mentioned, let me say, have place now. So yes, we have a bit more girls, and I think it's at least it's a good situation in sense of inclusion, diversity. So even before war, the percentage of girls was rising in like at least at my university, and it this trend like continues. Um, it's interesting question about. How student try to hard like to get the knowledge and these things. So let me say it again depends very much. So if students have some problems with mental health, so it is hard for them to get best results. It doesn't matter how strong they try. But for some students, yes, it is the case. So they are just a kind of more motivated. So yes, I will do something to help Ukraine win and to uh, put any my skills to help like um, get these things done. So no one trend and like extended diversity, let me say.
Mhm, mhm. Okay. Unluckily, time is already up. So I would say let's do a last round of statements. You get the last word, so I will say a few words, and Gerd can say a few words, and then you can have the closing, and then afterwards I just tell about the next edition, and
Okay.
then we see the outro. Yeah, so for me it was super interesting to get a bit more into it, but at the same time it's still like it's a little scratch on the surface, and for me it remains super difficult to imagine how resilient you can be to keep that much normal in the situation, and what the daily situation is. Because even though we didn't talk about it, this warning app that is telling you now there's a strike coming and so on, and you constantly have it open and you see it, is this is would already be threatening enough, but then the heating and the electricity and also the network where everything depends on today as supercritical infrastructure on the one hand, and on the other hand, the engaged citizens like you that really push it. So it's really amazing what the Ukrainian people are doing, and so really thanks a lot for sharing. And yeah, so I'm sure people understand a bit better now and maybe can think a bit more into the situation and continue pushing also for supporting Ukraine in this terrible war. Okay, Gerhard, do you have a last word?
Yeah, thanks so much for sharing your feelings and giving us the time to understand you better. And we hope that we all can support Ukraine as much as possible, because you are doing amazing things and it's so important for whole Europe. And I hope that this war will end soon. And yeah, wishing you all the best, and thanks for giving us the time to understand you a bit more.
Okay, Taras, and now it's up to you. What do you want the audience to know as the last thing from today?
Okay. So you see, things in our fast-changing world are changing faster and faster. So when we start our discussion, maybe months or two ago, so there was no huge signs what we will have now. I mean, Iran and all these attacks and in the Middle East. And I even heard that they asked for Ukrainians to help destroy these shaheds, because no one knows how to cope with them. But somehow we managed to destroy the most shaheds in Ukraine. So things are very unpredictably changing, and we don't know what to expect tomorrow. But you should know that Ukrainians are very kind people and always glad and help to share experience and to help others to cope with problems. We do a lot of things. We do it just because we do it, and do it for the best. We still hoping for the better world today and tomorrow, and we put all of our efforts to come to this situation, to have a better world.
There's a very good statement, and opens the perspective to a follow-up edition that could be on how digital technology pushes that, and what everyone as volunteer, not only in a war zone but also in non-war zones, could do to really advance society, which is also one of the goals that we have in the Association for Computing Machinery. So really, thanks a lot, Taras. As all audience, if you have more questions, don't hesitate to write in the comments and so on. We can also get in touch with Taras and so on. As you know, the series is at the moment not every month, and so the next edition will be on securing the industrial Internet of Things. It will be with my colleagues from the University of Sherbrooke in Canada. And if you want to participate, don't hesitate to subscribe to the newsletter or to the channel. Then you get the news when it is planned, and we're looking forward to seeing you as always. So thank you very much, Taras. Thank you very much, Gerhard. And thank you very much, everybody who watched. Please share the talk, discuss it. It's a super important discussion that unluckily will get more and more important, because it will not be the last war that we face, unluckily. And if we would be in a war right now, the situation would be similar. So it's unluckily necessary to also learn and adapt to such situations. Okay, thank you very much. I launched the outro, and we can stay a bit connected if you want. And everybody, see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Cher Cyber CNI, pôle d'excellence région Bretagne. Au revoir et à la prochaine.